Hey, big dog, here we are, back at it again at 5-Star Linemen Academy. I'm out here, man, I'm ready to get my work in today, okay? We talked about the 3-point stance, we talked about the 2-point stance. One of my favorites is the 4-point stance. Listen, this has some huge advantages to it. If you master the 4-point stance, nobody can stop you. The 4-point stance is a very good stance to be able to master. That's the big dog stance. If you can master that, you can have a very explosive first 2 steps. The 4-point stance is very similar to the 3-point stance, okay, in several ways. It's almost exactly alike. One, you still have heel to toe ratio in your feet. You still have the same depth in your stance. 2, you still have the same width. It should be right underneath your hips or right underneath your shoulders, right there. You still should be able to reach down and touch your feet. They shouldn't be too wide in a 4-point stance. Same thing as a 3-point stance. Your hand placement is the same. With a 3-point stance, obviously you put one hand down in a 3-point stance. 4-point stance, like a dog, you got both hands down. You're on all 4s here. That's why I love it. Big dog stance. Now, but the principle is the same. Your hands must be aligned with your feet. That is extremely important because, again, we're talking about weight distribution. Kind of easier when you put both hands down because you can't really get that wrong like you can with one hand. But here you have 2 hands down. Watch. So I'm going to start off with my left foot back. But watch how my down hand is aligned with my feet. Feet underneath my shoulder, heel-toe ratio, hands are aligned with my feet. Right there, big dog. There you go. Very simple. Very, very simple. So I'm gonna get on this side with my right foot back. Same concept. Hand vertically aligned with my back foot. And my other hand is aligned with my front foot. Right here. Right there. Perfect. You can't get that wrong, okay? If your heel-toe ratio at the width of your shoulders and your hands are aligned with your feet, that is a perfectly balanced big dog stance. It is perfect. You can't get that wrong, okay? Make sure your hands, when you put them down, are aligned with your feet. It's called vertical alignment. I don't care if you have to touch your toes and walk them out. Touch your toes and walk them out. Boom. You know they are vertically aligned. That is huge. You don't want them outside, obviously, your hands. Okay, that's too wide. You don't want them inside. But you want them vertically aligned with your feet. Got it? Next thing. Okay, coach, I got my feet placement. I know where my feet go. I know the depth and the width of my feet. But what about my hand placement? Where do I put my hands? Hey, first of all, we know that we do want to try to make them horizontal. We know as far as our hand placement, we want to try to make them horizontal, not vertical. This is a little bit quicker. Why? Because if I turn my index and thumb vertical, it's going to work my elbows out. See that? If I can turn my index and thumb horizontal, it's going to work my elbows in. That's where you want them. You want your elbows inside, and having your index and thumb horizontal helps do that. So we know that. You want to try to get them on the same horizontal line when you get them down. Now, how far out, coach, do I have them? Now, there is a 4-point stance for run, and there's a 4-point stance for pass. Now, your stance can be the same, but for big dog, my stance is a little different. My 4-point stance would be different for my pass. Okay, let's talk about how far. How far do I put my hands? Again, about a shoe and a half. About a shoe and a half. About right there. That's where I will put both my hands down. Here we go. Right there. I think that's perfect. You may be a taller guy, so there may be 2 shoes. Let's take a look at it. 1, 2. That might be more comfortable for you, but you have to be careful that you don't have too much weight on your hand. But if you feel better that way, then put them there. Right there is pretty good, okay? All depends on you. Now, some people like to have their hands away from their shoulder. I don't like it, but some people do. What do you mean, coach? Heel toe ratio, that's about 2 shoes. My shoulder is right on top of that shoe. But some people like to have their hands extended out. You see that? Not down, but out. Now, if you like that, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. It actually helps you push you back in your hips, okay? What it actually can do is lock your hips there. Some D tackles like to put their hands directly right under their shoulder joint, like this. Okay, now my hands is right under my shoulder, right there. You got those that have it a little bit further out, and that takes some pressure off your fingers. Nothing wrong with that, and it locks you in your hips. And some people put their hands right underneath their shoulder, and nothing wrong with that either. Puts more pressure on your hands, but it's personal preference, big dog. Whatever gets the job done.